Thank you, Madam Chair. This morning we have an opportunity to discuss the serious implications of the Administration's unilateral move to execute its oppressive climate agenda. Some of my friends on the other side continue to speak of carbon pollution, which suggests to some people that they are talking about particulate emissions. Of course, we know that what is being talked about with this proposed rule is carbon dioxide emissions from existing power plants. And these regulations regarding CO2 could negatively impact every single American. The President seems determined to wage an all-out war on coal, launching costly regulations that would have little effect on changing the climate. Over the past 10 years, global coal consumption has soared by 65%. During the same period, U.S. coal exports have skyrocketed by more than 200%. Coal is burned to provide 40% of the world's electricity needs in a reliable and economical way. So although the coal consumption has soared, global average temperatures have stagnated over the past 17 years. This is a fact worth repeating. There has been no rise in global average temperatures over the past 17 years. Regardless, the Administration continues to defend its heavy-handed climate regulations with assertions that global average temperatures are on the rise. The regulation that we are here to discuss today is EPA's most blatant overreach thus far. Under the guise of the Clean Air Act, the agency has proposed to mandate entities that are far outside its regulatory authority. The rule does not simply attempt to reduce emissions from existing plants. For the first time, EPA has gone beyond power plants with a regulation that reaches up to and including the power meter. EPA is relying on the talking points that its proposed rule is flexible and allows States to create their own plans. I know this will be mentioned today, but this is fiction when it comes to many States. The rule is a regulatory noose for electricity providers and users in my State of Mississippi. In fact, in States like Mississippi, we are being punished by EPA for having a diversified portfolio of electrical generation. 100% of Mississippi's current coal production will be forced to close down under this rule. In place of coal, EPA suggests an increase in the use of renewable energy resources, an increase by more than 250% of renewable energy resources. Yet EPA's own technical support document shows zero potential for this type of renewable energy resource in Mississippi. What good is flexibility if there is no chance of flexibility? Low-cost and reliable electricity is at the core of economic growth. Many parts of the country have been experiencing a manufacturing renaissance, in part due to the great success of American energy innovation and the shale revolution. Unfortunately, EPA's rules do not account for future economic development and could actually thwart new growth. Their so-called flexible regulation would mandate that States put CO2 emissions above all else. If the proposed rules move forward, and I hope they do not, our economy would be put at an economic disadvantage. Utilities in States will be handcuffed by EPA's mandate because they have to rely on uneconomical resources to power America's homes and businesses, increasing the cost for everyone. The consequences of the Administration's proposed rule would be disastrous for our economy and, again, would have minuscule impact on the environment. In summary, my friends, the proposed rule is a breathtaking regulatory overreach. It is a job killer. It is based on questionable science. It is of dubious legality under the Clean Air Act. It amounts to an end run against Congress. It is inflexible. It will have no effect on the climate and is therefore pointless and is punitive, to name a few. Thank you, Madam Chair. I hold in my hand a publication from the Global Warming Petition Project, summary of peer-reviewed research consisting of 2 pages, qualification of signers consisting of 1 page, and frequently asked questions of the Global Warming Petition Project consisting of 4 pages. I ask that they be inserted in the record at this point.
Without objection,
Madam Chair, and I would read a portion of the petition signed by some 31,487 American scientists, over 9,000 of whom have Ph.D.s. The proposed limits on greenhouse gases would harm the environment, hinder the advance of science and technology, and damages the health and welfare of mankind. There is no convincing scientific evidence that human release of carbon dioxide, methane, or other greenhouse gases is causing or will cause in the foreseeable future catastrophic heating of the Earth's atmosphere and disruption of the Earth's climate. Moreover, there is substantial scientific evidence that increases in atmospheric carbon dioxide produce many beneficial effects upon the natural plant and animal environment of the Earth. I say this in response to the continued drumbeat from the other side of the aisle that the science is over with, it's been decided, and everyone who disagrees is somehow some sort of a quack. To some 31,487 American scientists who have signed this petition, it is not settled science, and I appreciate them being a contrary voice to get the peer-reviewed facts before us. I would also point out, and I asked my first question about this, Madam Administrator, the Attorney General of West Virginia recently wrote EPA just last month and requested the withdrawal of the rule because, he says, EPA lacks the legal authority to adopt it. So while there may have been witnesses before this committee in recent days saying that EPA unquestionably has the authority to propose such a rule, the Attorney General of West Virginia disagrees, and he points out this, Ms. McCarthy. He says that the Clean Air Act Section 111D affirmatively prohibits EPA from regulating any air pollutant emitted in an existing source category, which is regulated under the national emission regime of Section 112 of the Clean Air Act. So Section 111D says if it's regulated under 112, you can't regulate it any other way. Now, EPA has imposed extensive regulations on existing coal-fired power plants under Section 112. Is that correct?
I think that the framing of the legal argument is incorrect, Senator.
Well, but let me ask you this. I'm not asking you for that. I'm asking you, does EPA impose regulations on existing coal-fired power plants under Section 112?
We certainly do.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. And so based on that, Madam Chair and members of the committee, the Attorney General of West Virginia says, having been regulated under Section 112, the EPA lacks the legal authority to further regulate these emissions under Section 111D. Let me ask you this also. Time is fleeting. Ms. McCarthy, did you tell Senator Vitter that your cost benefit analysis was done entirely on a global basis and was not?
No.
Okay. Please correct my understanding of that.
The Senator, I think, was asking me, and at least this is what I answered, as to whether or not the social cost of carbon benefits are looked at as benefits that are solely gained domestically or whether they are based on global benefits.
Okay. Well, good. So perhaps I did misunderstand, and I'm glad I did. You conducted a cost-benefit analysis as required by law. Is that correct?
Yes.
And was this conducted on a state-by-state basis?
No, it was a national analysis.
Okay. It was not
the
done.
The challenge here, sir, is we've given so much state flexibility that it can only be illustrative, because it really is going to be up to the individual states how to design their strategies to achieve these reductions.
Okay. So you didn't do it on a regional basis?
We did the analysis. My understanding is, and we can certainly follow up with more specifics,
okay, well, please
is that
do
it's
that.
it looks at national impacts, although we'll over time get more specific as states make decisions and comments come in.
Okay. Well, I see my time has expired. I may submit a question to the record for you, Ms. McCarthy, with regard to the stranded costs of 2 projects that Mississippi has undertaken to comply with recent Federal regulations. These projects will have to be completely shut down under your proposed rule if it goes forward. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I'd be happy to look at that, sir. Stranded assets is an important issue.